Hi all, welcome back. This time we're going to have a look at game 10, and this is where Bogo strikes back. His first win against Alekhine for a long time. Well, Alekhine's first loss for a few years.
Well, certainly in a World Championship match anyway.
It's a bit of a grind actually. We'll take Black's point of view, not giving anything away. So Efim was Black. So D4, and after C4 E6, now knight f3, Queen's Indian territory at the moment, but it transposes now into Slav, and then it makes another transposition now into the Cambridge Springs. Still popular then, Cambridge Springs.
It was at the time, but
1934.
Fell out of fashion soon after.
Yeah. So it's basically sorting out a pin here and putting a pin here. It's, you know.
And of course, there's a well-known trap. Watch out for the bishop on G5.
Yeah, because of this D takes, and then got to be careful. So knight D2. Okay, so bishop B4, Queen C2, White Alexander. He's got the intention of giving up his dark square bishop, which he does now. After knight takes C4, Black gives up his dark square bishop. I wonder, could he have just retreated?
Queen D8 is more normal when Black has the two bishops and some long-term chances.
Yeah.
Bishop takes C3 check is playing for a draw.
Yeah. So we reach and we get a lot of things off. And White's trump card is basically like the B file. He might want to dissolve this pawn at the moment, at some point in the future rather. Black's trump card is the D file. And we see actually both sides pile up with the thematic breaks on their semi-open file for C5 and E5 from Black, and it will be A4, A5 from White once there's a pawn on B6. So that's the general thematic pawn play, I think.
Well, I would say White's slightly better. He has an advantage in space and a better bishop.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't amount to much.
Right. And both sides actually leave their king in the centre. So King E7, leaving, and it protects D6 of course. F3, and White's soon going to leave his king in the centre. So Bishop A6 though looks to be an annoying move, but I'm not really sure it's shown to be that effective. It does block Black's A pawn of course, but now the White king's left in the centre.
He's not going to move his A pawn though.
Yeah.
Because B6 would be on freeze.
Yeah, B6.
And it doesn't do anything.
But was actually, in retrospect, the king a bit of a target? If Black wants to play on the D file, maybe the king is a target on the D file. So he's like asking for a bit of trouble.
The king can always move to E2 whenever it likes. It's not a big problem.
Okay, so C5. This does liberate this bishop. It gives actually the bishop an unusual square actually, which it uses soon. The A4 square is used now, which restricts White's options a bit for Rook D1 or Rook C2. If that's significant here. Now White's maybe a bit ambitious on the king side in this game, flinging quite a few pawns up on the king side.
Well, he's gaining space. It looks reasonable. And
Black's content to exchange off knights, so we get an even more simplified position. So it should be around about sort of equal, and this is move 21. We've got loads of things exchanged off already.
The thing is, Black has no weaknesses.
Yeah.
Look at his position, it's compact.
Yes. Plays H6, and now King E2. Okay, getting the king off that potentially sensitive D file. Bishop C6. Now offering an exchange of light square bishops. So we're now in a pure double rook and pawn ending. How exciting! Now for those enthusiastic about rook and pawn endings, yep, this is good. No, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool stuff. So, but it should be a draw, shouldn't it?
Black looks to be slightly better now. White's position looks a bit loose. His A pawn is isolated.
A pawn isolated, yes. So there's
Black also has the main break.
The main break
with C takes D4. It's unlikely that D takes C5 is going to be a good move at any stage.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll fragment the pawns even more. 3 pawn islands. If D takes C5, isolated C and A pawns.
So Black is probably minimally better here.
Right. So it was interesting to see Bogo start to increase his advantage here. So E5. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Black's segment D file is being used up here with the thematic breaks, and White is playing for A5 now. A5. So they've both got pressure, but Alexander's offering basically a pawn, isn't he? He's sacking a pawn. just hoping he'd maintain the balance, perhaps. Having that nice blockade of the king now. He just plays e4, so he's gone voluntarily, basically.
Well, white's a pawn down, but he shouldn't be losing this.
Did he actually have to go a pawn down, actually, though, if we look at this? There was mounting pressure now. Did the king have to go back to the d file, in fact?
No.
So was that maybe a risky strategy, this king d3 here? When he played 26 king d3, it looks a bit... Yeah, he's sacking the pawn, leaving the king as a blockader.
Maybe he's trying to win, which is not advisable.
Yeah. Okay, so he goes a pawn down now, shortly. He's a pawn down. But if we assess this position, the king's an interesting blockader here, and white's rooks are kind of active, and black's rooks are stuck behind his own pawn. So there's some logic to it. But rook b6 offers black now the chance to extend the scope of the rook just by pushing the b pawn. And engines here are giving two moves to actively use either rook, either a8 or c8, like this one or this one, maybe to g8, or maybe just double up rooks and this kind of maneuver as well if the king's getting chased. And there should be some perpetual check opportunities in there. But instead, white played rook b1, which again should be okay, but it seems there was some more inaccuracies to follow now. So you think white was perfectly okay here, Paul? You're saying with rook
b3.
Rook b3, not rook a4, because then that's too dangerous for potential rook b3s or later.
Well, I was thinking that white could round up the pawn with rook a4 to a3 to a2.
Yeah.
The problem is black plays rook b3 so he gets round to the kingside pawns.
Yeah. So these are potentially weaknesses to exploit round the side there.
So I thought rook b3 here should certainly draw.
Yeah. So instead he played g5, and now after b3, e5. So he's playing quite aggressively with his pawns here, with that king as a blockader. So check. The thing is, his kingside efforts are now reduced to a single pawn pretty soon, and he's losing that g5. So it starts to become a little bit more critical, doesn't it?
White seems to be attempting to lose.
Yeah, he's lost. He's losing. Is going to be losing his last remaining pawn fairly shortly, which would mean actually 2 pawns down, which isn't a very pleasant rook and pawn ending to play. 2 pawns down. He's now 2 pawns down, but the game continues. With black getting an easier simplified rook and pawn ending through, I think, offering a pawn now back with rook c1. So he's sacking the b pawn to make progress here, to simplify. So that's quite neat, quite clever.
Well, not that clever, it's fairly obvious. And it's a trivially one pawn ending.
Yeah.
Because the white king is miles away from
Yeah,
the g-board.
absolutely miles, yeah. Absolutely miles. Okay, so g2, and he could have resigned here, but he plays a few more moves, actually. Forcing black to find the check here for rook g3, which now prompts Alexander to resign his first game for many years, which he's lost at the World Championship level. He resigns here after rook g3 on move 81. So, bit of a dry game, but for those interested in rook and pawn endings, it shows, if you push too many pawns, they can be weak, and you can end up losing most of them, and lose. Yeah. So,
I think Alekhine played over dynamically when the position didn't really justify it.
Yeah, it was a dryish position. So the aggressive pawn moves on the king side didn't really do much, and he missed also the chance to infiltrate with the rooks. So either rook or infiltration apparently. So maybe he was switched off here in this game. It seems a bit to these possibilities.
Maybe he thought he just wouldn't lose, but he did.
Maybe he overestimated the king as a blockader here, but or his advances on the king side. But some active rook play from black, with both rooks now pressurising on this here. This is quite nasty, isn't it, for these pawns?
It is.
Pawns have had it.
White's in trouble now.
If king e4, then he loses the blockade. There's d3 and d2, and it's very bad.
Not good.
So so basically, this blockade now, this is a classic restrained blockade destroy scenario. Nxf6 is restrained blockade destroy, isn't it? Pawns are first restrained, blockaded, and destroyed now. Easy target to be picked up. 2 pawns up, and the rest, as some people will say, is like technique.
Well, he's 1 pawn up, 2 pawns up now.
2 pawns up now, and then he gets rid of 1 pair of rooks, and now it's trivially won. Just a little final finesse, this check for rook g3. Well, I hope you got something out of that. In terms of evolution of style, I'm not really sure. Well, it shows that maybe, you know, Efim was still able to, well, obviously win against Alexander, but it was only 1 of 3 of his wins in this whole match, wasn't it? It was quite a crushing match score compared to the first match.
He had his chances, but he didn't take them all. As we see some
yeah,
of the
we've
games.
seen some of the draws, and some of the draws are actually quite exciting. But in terms of actually getting the point from Alexander, it was hard. And actually, the 2 wins, curiously, were towards the end of the match and together in a row, 2 in a row. There was 2 in a row. But this was an early win in the match from Efim, relatively early. In fact, only an early win in this match.
There's a third game we've seen with Bogoljubov as black, having no trouble in the opening.
Yeah, he seems to be having a smooth ride. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube. And if you're not already subscribed to the King's Crusher channel, it's free and you'll be notified of any new videos. Thanks very much.